Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for joining us today. My name is Rashmita, and I am the event planner for Microsoft Reactor India. This session will run over the next 60 minutes, including Q&A. But before we begin, please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We are all here to learn together, so please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, being kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat section will be open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. So please feel free to drop all your questions in the chat section. I would now like to welcome Shrushti, our speaker for today's session. She is a Microsoft certified professional and works as a consultant at Rapid Circle. But for now, I will hand over to Shrushti to begin the session. Let me bring her into the stream. There you go. Hey, hi Shrushti.
Hi Rashmita, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good too. Hope you
Us.
are enjoying the pleasant weather.
Absolutely. Loving it. Shrushti, can you
Awesome.
please share your screen so that we can all
Sure.
start? Yeah.
You can see my screen?
Yes, there you go. Yeah. Over to you,
Okay.
Shrushti.
Thank you so much, Rashmita. Uh, so thank you everyone for joining in live. And I'll be speaking majorly today around a very interesting topic, which is Azure OpenAI and how you can integrate Power Platform with Azure OpenAI. And we are going to do that using custom connector. But before that, I'll give a short introduction about myself. So I am Shrishti Shah and I work as a technical consultant at Rapid Circle. I'm also a Microsoft MVP and I've worked almost around 7 years on various Microsoft techs and services, including Microsoft 365, Power Platform, Azure, etc. So you can find me speaking around various of the events and sessions, and also I keep writing blogs, but I don't do it that frequently. But yes, I do write it sometimes. So make sure that you visit that as well. Okay, but there's some internet issue at my place, so I will be turning off my camera so that I can give the demonstration live. Just a second. Okay. Can you see my screen, Rashmita? Just can you confirm?
Yes, Shrishti, it's visible.
Okay. Yeah. So today I'm going to talk about Azure OpenAI, and mainly, we have heard a lot about OpenAI, ChatGPT, the different models of OpenAI, and there is always a kind of I can say dilemma, like what exactly ChatGPT is or what exactly OpenAI is and where does Azure OpenAI comes into the picture. So just to give you the brief background, I'll keep it very short because I have a lot of interesting things to show. But just to cover that point, like whether, hey, what is Azure OpenAI and why do we call it Azure OpenAI and why not just OpenAI? So calling out that difference here, Azure OpenAI is built on top of OpenAI, first thing. So whenever you talk about any of the GPT models, either GPT 3.5, GPT 4, GPT 4o, or any of the latest models which will come out in future, which is built on top of OpenAI, all those integrations Microsoft has done or partnered with OpenAI so that you can leverage all the GPT based models, and it offers a lot of things, right? You can generate text, you can summarize, you can create images. Recently, if you would have seen the 4o, wherein speech to text conversion, or if you're speaking you'll get some interesting recommendations through ChatGPT or our models. So these are the different type of models which we are using, which were created by OpenAI, and it has partnered with Microsoft. When we call about Azure OpenAI, there is also a great thing which Microsoft has done. They have given the inbuilt security for us so that we don't have to worry, or it is not our concern that, hey, whatever I'm typing in here, whatever I'm writing the prompts, the data which we are getting from the GPT models or with which it is trained, or let's say if I'm using organization data, how well it will be secured, etc. So all those questions were answered by making this as Azure OpenAI, as it has inbuilt security model, which is directly, uh, the only all the services which you use of Azure has its own security because it is a platform SaaS service which is provided. Similarly, OpenAI is also a service in your Azure which will be using all the underlining benefits of Azure platform. So, before I talk more about it, let's just go ahead and look at the agenda. So, if you would have seen the agenda is very crisp and short, and my slides, I don't have more slides as well because everything will be proper demonstration and we'll do it live. What is Azure AI? Where Azure AI Studio? Like, what is it? How you can find it? How you can access it? What are the differences between AI Hub and AI Project? Like, these are the two terminologies which we'll see across Studio. We'll also see the difference. There is interesting, case study. I thought maybe I'll take a case study of assistance because anytime if we demonstrate, we ideally take GPT based model. We just type in and you get the response with which GPT gets it from web or you ground it with your own data. So I thought maybe we can do a short case study on assistance and we'll achieve our primary goal, which is how we can leverage this existing Azure OpenAI, whichever we have built on top of Azure, with our another platform or another software as a service, which is Power Platform. And in Power Platform, there are a lot of services like PowerApps, Power Automate, how you can go ahead and leverage that. So we're going to talk about that today. First things first, Azure AI Studio. Now, today's topic is coined or it will be themed across Azure AI itself, and I'll be taking you through the Azure AI Studio. Also, there is one more studio called as Azure OpenAI Studio. We'll go ahead and check that. So let me just go to my demonstration. Okay, so this is my Azure. I have just logged into portal.azure.com, and what you can see here is, let me just go to the home page. You can see the home right here. All you have to do is just go and search for Azure OpenAI. So once you go inside Azure OpenAI, probably the first thing which I missed here is you also have to get the license or access to Azure OpenAI. So let's say you don't have the access. How you can go ahead and access it? There is a form which is provided by Microsoft. That is the access form. You fill out those details, those information which is asked here. It will have some questions when it is asking you like, hey, which all type of models do you want to try, in which organization or subscription ID you have to provide so that they give you the access. All those information, once you just fill it out, the Microsoft team will provide you the access within few days. Ideally, they do it within 24 hours if there are no more, like quite a lot of requests. But previously, it used to take a lot of time. But now I do think that it completes the request in 2 or 3 business days. So once you get the access, you can directly straight away go to Azure OpenAI. Now I am here in Azure OpenAI, and you see that I can see a lot of Azure AI services. It is this Azure OpenAI is part of AI service. So whenever we talk about any of the GPT based model, it is nothing but a new cognitive service, you can say. Cognitive service is now called as AI services. And as you can see from the left navigation, that I can see AI search, computer vision, SACE API, custom vision, speed service. These all are also part of AI services. So now this is those all things are clubbed inside an AI service. So when I talk about Azure AI Studio, it is a home for all the AI services. Okay. And now we are right now focusing on Azure OpenAI. So in the Azure OpenAI, what I've done is I've created some Azure OpenAI services. So this is similar to how you go ahead and create SQL Server, SQL database, or resource group, or any of the resources in Azure. Nothing new. So let's just hit create. And yeah. So once I hit create, you see that I have to provide some information. And that information is my subscription, the resource group, the region name, the name of my Azure OpenAI, the pricing tier. And once you are done, you can also restrict it more based on the network. You can add tags. Once you are done with that, you just hit submit and your Azure OpenAI resource is created. This is just a service which we have created now. So let's go back and pick the one which I have created for now. So as you can see, this is the service which I've created. Now, let's say I want to just interact and play with my Azure OpenAI service. Where can I do that? You have to go to Azure OpenAI Studio. Once you go to the studio, this is your studio where you can go ahead, create deployments. We'll see what deployments are. You can ground it with your data. You can add content filters. Okay, now this is my Azure OpenAI Studio. And from here, you can go to Azure AI Studio as well. So I will go to Azure AI Studio. This is my Azure AI Studio, and this is what you are seeing here is Azure OpenAI Studio. Now, what is the difference? So here, if I go to the AI Studio, you can see it is using one of my service, right? Here, if you can, if I am here, it is definitely using the same service which I've created. Both are same. While there are a lot of differences which we'll talk about. Here, what you can find is, let's say I've created, I'll go to the deployments. I'll create a new deployment. Now, what is the need for a deployment? Until and unless I create one deployment, I can never ever test whether it is working fine, like in terms of chat, image generation, code generation, summarization, etc. So if I go to the chat playground, you will find here that it is using one of my deployment. And how can I find it? From the left navigation. See, it needs the deployment. And the deployment is what? It is nothing but your model. Which model you're going to use to chat with. So if I go to the deployments, I'll create one deployment. See, these are the type of models which are available as of now. DALI, GPT-35, GPT-4, GPT-4o, text embedding, and different versions of it. Once you pick the model of your choice, let's say I pick 4o. Now I have to pick the model version. Which version do you want to work with? Either you want to work with the latest one or the default one. I'll pick the default one. Deployment type. Now, what should be the deployment type? When I say standard, it will only be deployed to my this service, which is custom DALI. And when I say global standard, it will be deployed across. So I am just going to keep it standard for now. Once you are done, you give the deployment name. Ideally, you can give the same, model name as deployment name so that you are aware which version or which deployment you're using. If you want, you can give another random name like me as well, which I've given. Content filter. As of now, you see the content filter is kept as default. Here, you can still go ahead and upgrade your content filters more. We'll check that later. Once this is deployed, you just pick your tokens per minute. So let's say you are creating a use case wherein your tokens per limit rate, you might know better, like which use for whatever use case. If the use case is your user are going to query every minute and the requests are going to come in every minute, or it is just, very few requests in a day or very few requests in an hour. Based upon that, you can just select tokens per rate limit. Once you are done, you hit create and this deployment will be created for you. I've already created a few. You can see all those are standard type of deployments which I've created. Now I am going to go to the chat section. Once you have done the deployment, you can go to the chat section and you can just, let's say I'm going to pick my uh, this one, this latest one, and I'm going to ask. I haven't added any data as of now. This is just the deployment stage which we have done. Now let's say what is Microsoft Reactor. Hit enter. I didn't give any information, right? There is no data which I have added. Still, it is able to give me back some information. Why? Because it is open. Like GPT models are trained on, these are pre-trained models. That is why we say GPT. And these pre-trained models were trained with some data and it can find the data from web as well. So that is why it is able to give me some information back. And this is what you can do. Whenever you go ahead and create Azure OpenAI service, you can directly start testing this services with different things. Now, you can also adjust your parameters. Hey, I just want one response back. You can adjust the temperature. You can adjust the stop speed, sequences, penalty, current token count. You can adjust all the parameters which you want, but you can do that once you know the use case better. Once you have the use case and you know the limitations, like hey, my users should get the this number of responses back. They can't have n number of responses, etc. You can just tweak down the parameters. Now here there is another section, past messages included. So if you can see, there are few past messages included, and if you hit on the information icon, select the number of past messages to include in each new API request. So whenever I am hitting new API request, just for that context, whenever we ask anything to anyone, we have context in mind that hey, I'm asking this related to the last message which I have done. So for that reason, this past messages included is important if you want your GPT to have some context. So here I've hit previously it was 10. Now if you want to give, you can give a number of past messages included, whichever you want. The max limit is just 20 for now. This is what we did, right? This is nothing new. We just created a deployment. I just tested it. Now what next? What I can do with it? Another important thing is I don't want the internet data. Like I just want my GPT to only give me the information from my organization data or the data which I provide. How you can do that? You can go to add your data and you can add a data service. You pick any of the data service, either it is file, URL, uh, blob storage, search, Cosmos DB, Elasticsearch. You can pick any of these. Let's just take URL. Okay, once you select URL, you can just select any of the search service. I have created one search service. This search service has some blob. I'm just going to select that. Whether that search service is indexed or not. Mm, if it is indexed, then you will find some suggestion. If I have not created index, I'll have to go and create it. Once you are done doing that, you can provide the URL. But if you just want to test it with files, you can do the similar thing. The files will be uploaded in one service. So whatever we are doing here, it is not like, hey, I give you this file, attach it, and just give me the information. No, this data will sit somewhere. That is why we see here all those information. Even though if I select upload files, your you will have to create a search service with index, and then you can upload the files in the blob storage wherever you have created that service, and then it will pick or index it there. It will just always look out the information in your files which you have provided. So that is how you can ground with your data. And if you don't want to do it from here, you can go ahead and do it from the data files as well. So this is where you can provide your training and test data set. So this is how you can upload it from here, or you can upload it from your blob storage. Once you are done, then this is just the training data with which you want your model to be trained more on. Okay, you can do that from here as well. Next is models. We already talked about it, but these are the type of whatever you saw in the deployments when we were creating deployment, and whatever you see here, we are getting it from the model section. So these are the models which are built in, provided by Microsoft. You can find all the model information here. Let's say if I just create it, you can deploy it as well, or you can create a custom model for yourself. So if I just create a custom model, let's say I don't have this current model doesn't suffice my requirement. I want to create the custom model. And you can just go ahead and create the custom model, and you have to select the base model type for it as well. Right now, I'm not going to deep dive into this, but if you have any requirement, maybe you can do that as well. So these are the different sections with which you can either ground your data, you can create your own custom model, or else you can use your own out of the box model as well. Next comes is the quotas. Now, if you remember, when we just created the deployment, we had to select the token per limit, token per minute, right? What? Why do we need that? Because we are using some quota, like we are using some credits, right? From 100, I'm consuming with each request which I'm making, I'm consuming some number of amount. So that quota capacity is mentioned here. You can bifurcate it. So let's say I want a GPT-35 model to use this much amount of capacity. DALI is not used much, so I'll provide this much capacity. And assistance probably is using the least amount. Then you can just allocate your capacities basically based on the usage of your each model. Once you are done with that, there is another nice section. So I'll come to the playground because we're going to play around with playground itself, but I want to cover the key concepts of the Azure OpenAI content filter. So let's say I went to the chat section and I typed in anything, whichever came to my mind. At times we are so much stressed, and we just want to take out all of our stress, and it just reflects in your person, either in the form of information in text, or either you show it on your face, or either you speak it. So at times, we have the habit of using some jargons. Maybe those jargons, uh, these models might not understand, and it can assume it something else. So it is advised to filter your content. Now, how do you filter it? Basically, right now, whenever we created a deployment, it just added the default layer of content filtering. Now you can go ahead and block as well. So let's say if I want to create a block list, you can provide all the blocks, all the different kind of words which it should block, and then it will filter those whenever someone types in. It will not take that information and use it to query the information from the GPT LLMs. It will not do that. Or else you can create the customized filter, content filter. And what you can do here is, say, let's say I created the customized content filter. Here you can see there are two different things. One, the information which I'm providing to the prompt in the form of text. that should also be filtered. And other, the information which I'm getting back from the AI, that should also be filtered, and it should not have any harsh comments or any harsh words which were used, right? Because it can affect anyone. If there is something which is used for one specific society or one specific religion, we don't want that kind of content at all. That is why whenever we create any of the model, it is created based on the responsible AI framework. And content filter is just an additional security, so that whatever you're typing, if it has any of the things, as you can see, there are a few categories. Hey, let's say there is a category for hate. You can't, how much level of severity do you want to achieve? So here everything is medium. I can say, hey, don't allow any of the hatred related words whenever it comes to the prompt or whenever we type in anything. So it is added as high level. Let's say self harm. I don't want self harm because that is kind of, that creates an anxiety and depression. So I don't want it to be medium. I want it to be high. Violence, same. You can keep all these filters as per your need. Next is completion. Now, when AI is giving me back the information, how do you want that to be processed as? I'll keep everything as high. Let's say I want my content to be highly secured and highly ethical uh, response. So I'll keep everything as high. Once I hit next, few other additional things. So now you can also go ahead and use this prompt shield model or indirect attacks or protected material text. All these models, if you want, you can use it. Once you hit enable, it will be enabled. I'm not filtering this out. These are the additional list. Block list, as you can see, you can block, some of the specific websites which you want, that, hey, my chat GPT or my GPT model cannot respond from this specific blocked websites. So you can provide that information here, all those block listed information, through which, whenever you query something, it will not go to those websites to fetch information from. Once you are done, hit next. Streaming mode. Now, as of now, you can keep the streaming mode as default, or you can keep it as async. This is, on the newly latest preview feature which is recently launched. Once you are done setting this up, hit next. You will see the model completion results, model completion results, and the few other configurations. Hit create content filter. Once you are done creating, let's just create content filter. It will sit here. And now, whenever I go and I'll go to the deployments, let's just attach this content filter with one of the deployment and see edit deployment. And here I should have my content filter. So now you can just give this one. I'll save and close. Once you are done, your content is now, you have filtered it at max. So no harsh comments, no harmful or violent things can come or pass through the model. So this is what you did as of now. These are the latest features which Azure OpenAI provides. Now, I hope I cleared the Azure OpenAI concept in depth. Coming to the another aspect, just a second, I'll go to my AI model. Um, yes. Now, what is Azure AI Studio? In the AI Studio, you can see that I have more features for each model, right? Rashmita, am I still audible? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. I thought I lost in a between. Okay. So I'll come back to Azure AI Studio. What exactly Azure AI Studio provides? It provides the detailed information, and it is not just for GPT or LLMs, large language models. It has n number of models, not just restricted to the models of built by Microsoft or built on top of Microsoft, but also the models which are built by other organizations like Hugging Face, NVIDIA, Mistral. You can see from the right section, right? These are the collections, not just Azure OpenAI, not just Microsoft, but also from Databricks, Snowflake, Mistral, Hugging Face, Meta, etc. So you can use any of the models from these organizations and the different type of model types, and you can build on top of it. So let's just go and see the model catalog. As of now, let me hide this. Okay. Now this is the model catalog, the awesome feature which is provided by AI Studio. In the model catalog, you can filter it. So now let's say I want to filter down just the Microsoft ones and the ones created by Azure OpenAI. So as soon as I filter, I can not just filter by the collection, but I can also filter by the deployment. options like it is managed compute or serverless API, or let's say my intent is to build a summarization thing, right? I want to build a GPT which summarizes. Then I can just pick summarization. Depending on your choice, what I want to do, you can just pick and play with it. Now I just remove summarizing, and we'll see that we just selected these two collections, right? Azure OpenAI and Microsoft. Oh, just selected one of them. Microsoft provides a few small language models as well, which we didn't see here, right? When we were just creating it. Here you can see all these small models, and these models you can just go ahead and start consuming it. All you have to do is the same thing. You go ahead and create the deployments. If you hit create deployment, here you see all these different type of models I can see, and I just don't want to filter it. I want to filter it with Microsoft. Now you can go ahead and create the deployment with of your small language models as well. So let's say I select this one. hmm I can select this one. There is a beautiful documentation, the summary which is provided. This is the model. This is the model summary. The use cases you do what you can do with this small language model, with what data this is trained with, the data sets, the benchmark, and the benchmark information, like how well it is with comparison to the other models, and the responsibility considerations which were taken while building this model, and the software, the cross-platform support, the license, trademarks, all the details, the small documentation for each of the models provided here. Once you hit confirm, your now you can see there is a new window which is open. Here you have to select your virtual machine. Once you select the virtual machine, then you go ahead and configure, just a second, the instance count, because each virtual machine has some instances. You can go ahead and give that. Either you create the new endpoint or you can use the existing endpoint. Once you are done, give the deployment name just like we talked about in the last version while building the deployment for GPT. You give your deployment name. Either it can be the same model name or you can give it your own name as well. Once you are done, hit deploy, and it will also create the deployment similar to what we created here. Once your deployment is created, you can go ahead and test it in the playground. In the chat section, you can again see which deployment it is using. Where is it? In the parameters. Okay. Where is the deployment? This is the playground settings. And here you can see I have already, yeah, here is the deployment. I'm going to use the same GPT-35 Turbo. You can also view the code. We'll come to the view the code in some time because that is at most important for today's session. Or else you can also evaluate a model this in the playground. You can deploy this existing to a web application. You can import either in JSON format or in the prompt file, or you can also find the prompt samples. So let's say if you want to just get inspired from some of the great prompts, you can go ahead and pick up from here as well. So now, once you are done, you just test it and you are done with it. Same, you can add your data from here as well, and that is it. This is the Azure OpenAI Studio, which we just, similar to Azure OpenAI in AI as well. Now, apart from this, what new things you can see? Model catalog, definitely. You can have different kind of models. Next is model benchmark. So now what happens is many people don't know the difference between GPT-35 and GPT-35 Turbo, or let's say GPT-35 and GPT-4, or GPT-4 and GPT-4o. You want to see which one is the most accurate, and based on that, you can select that, hey, this I can select and select for my project or use case. I'll remove all the filters from here, and I'm going to just pick two models, GPT 35 Turbo and GPT 4613. Now let's see these two models. Now I got one chart. Now this chart is called as model accuracy chart, in which you see on the x-axis there are two models. One is GPT 35 Turbo 0613, GPT 40613, and on the y-axis you see the score. This is the accuracy score. Now, below, whatever you see is what each accuracy, like the color code for each accuracy. If you can see the graph from 35 to 40613, the accuracy provided by GPT 35 is 0.752, while the score for 4 is 0.874. Now you know which one you should select when you when you are confused between two. It is not just between two. You can select n number. Let's say I provide GPT 432K and GPT 432K with different model versions. So now, if you see, there is a static line, which means if you select GPT 432K, GPT-4 or GPT-4 with 32K with different model versions, all the three models are performing same. The accuracy for three is same. Now let's just go ahead and select one small language model, C. And in the x-axis, you see Phi GPT-35, 4, the versions for 4. And if you see, because 3 is trained, Phi is the small model, is trained on a smaller data set, definitely I can't compare it with the large language model. This is the small one, this is the large one. Now let me remove, okay, I think I only have one Phi. So you can see the accuracy of Phi is falling drastically low as compared to these GPT-based LLMs. This is the accuracy. There is another graph which is provided for coherence. Now, if you want to see the coherence, how well your language model can produce the outputs. So based on that, you can see that, hey, the GPT-4 is performing quite relevant, quite well. It is giving the score of 4.93. Again, GPT-4 with different model version, all the GPT-4s are performing well, and this is GPT-35, while C is very, very less coherent. So you can just check that through the model benchmark, which we don't get it in Azure OpenAI Studio. Similarly, model groundedness. So for that as well, there is a graph with model names and the score. You can check the score and you can pick and play with the best which you want. There is model fluency and model relevance. All these graphs you can just check. And below, if you can see, there is a detailed comparison provided with accuracy, coherence, groundedness, fluency, relevance, and GPT similarity for all these models which we selected at the top. You can take this up and you can work on it, work based on it. So let's say my intention of GPT is, that it should be more coherent and the accuracy can be more than zero point 0.7, then you can pick anyone which is performing, which has a good coherence. Or if your intention is to have more fluency, more relevance, then you can pick as per your needs. Okay. Another different section which you have in Azure AI Studio is prompt catalog. In the prompt catalog, you will see n number of prompt samples which are provided. This is, based on all the different kind of models like image, video, completion, chat. You can just pick any of the modalities or for any of the industries, or mainly you can filter it out for the tasks. So let's say I just want to have summarization. And for summarization, you can pick any of the prompt sample and you can start playing with it as well. This covers whole and soul your Azure OpenAI Studio and Azure AI Studio. I've covered everything. These all are the same. Dataset, content filters, quota deployments, everything remains the same. Vector stores is new. For that, it needs a detailed separate discussion, which I'm not going to deep dive into it today. Now, the important aspect. Hey, I know we created the model, we created a deployment, we tested it. How I can take a model? Let's say I'm going back here. I want to use this GPT model, the deployment which I have created, GPT-35 Turbo 16K or DALI. Let's say I want to generate images, and the images has to be generated, but not here in Azure. I don't want to test it here. I want to pick this up and build it on Power Platform. How I can do that? So give any prompt. Let's say I'm going to give it paint Seattle, create a painting for a school kid related to mountains. Okay, I'm just giving a random prompt and I'm going to hit generate, and it will definitely generate some information for me, right? It will generate the image. Now I want to do the same thing. I want to pick this up and I want to do it in Power Platform. That, hey, let's just create a repository of all the images or all the creative arts which your school kids can make or school children can go ahead and make it. And taking this as the inspiration, your school wants each and every children to draw it similarly. more precise prompt as well. You can do that with the prompts. But how do you take this information? It stands true for everything, like right from chat completions to assistant. How do you pick this up and put it in the other platform? Using view code. So in the view code, you see that there is an endpoint and the API key which is provided to you using this endpoint. What is this endpoint? This endpoint is nothing but the REST API, right? Once you get the endpoint, now you see, hey, this is just the endpoint, and what this endpoint will do, because it doesn't have any query that this should generate an image, this should summarize, this should write a code. How will we do that? For that, Microsoft has given the REST API documentation for Azure OpenAI. Using that, you using those query parameters along with the endpoint and API key, we will create a wrapper in Power Platform. And once this is wrapped, either in the form of custom connector for image generation, right now Microsoft Power Platform doesn't provide anything. So you can create a custom connector which is wrapping your API and then use it across Power Apps or Power Automate. While if you ask me that, hey, I want to generate the generate some information, just grounding some data. Can I do that? You can do that right now. You don't have to pick the endpoint and API key. For that, Microsoft has provided AI Hub, wherein you can create your own custom prompt, you can ground it with data, and then you're ready to use. I'll go ahead and check that right now. Okay. So for DALI, we are going to, specifically I've created the use case so that you understand the behind the scenes, how it works, the REST API and etc. You just saw, right? There is the REST API and endpoint. Now let's go to a Power Platform. So this is my Power Platform. I'll just go ahead and go back, open a new tab. There are quite a few ways to achieve the Azure OpenAI integration in Power Platform. So there are, as of now, two ways. One is creating the custom connector, and the other is using the custom prompt or using the existing prompt. So let's say, let me go to the AI Hub. Whenever you want to test anything on top of AI Builder or AI Hub, you need to have the Dataverse model as well, the Dataverse add-on license. Okay, now I am in my AI Hub, and if you can see from the top banner, empower your apps with GPT. This is what Microsoft is now providing out of the box to you. You don't have to wrap or create, take the APIs and wrap it in the form of connector and use it. I'll go to the prompts, and there are out of the box prompts which are available for you to do exact same thing with GPT, which you can do it with GPT 35 or 4. So you can see the summarize text, extract information, classify, sentiment analysis, etc. Right? So let me just go ahead and pick the summarize one. Here, this is the prompt area wherein you provide that, hey, what do you want to do? This probably you can give it the custom prompt. Here I provided the custom prompt, but if I would have used the existing one, the summarize text. So this is what it provides out of the box. Please summarize the following given text. In a way, you provide more information, give more context, the goal which you want to achieve. Once you are done doing that, next, there is a variable, right? You have to give, this will be a dynamic value. What do you want to summarize? That has to be dynamic. For that, we have created one input, and that input is text, which will be summarized. Here, you pass on the sample data. What do you want to summarize? So let's go ahead and pick up Microsoft, from the Microsoft Power Apps documentation. We'll go to the documentation. We'll pick a big paragraph. Let it load for a second. And I'll just create a canvas app. What are canvas apps? And I'm just going to pick this up. Going to go to my here, provide a sample data, and I'll hit test prompt. Let's wait for the response. And it provided me the response that, hey, this is the canvas application. You can design, build from this system. So this is tested. It works, right? Now let's say I want to tweak more. You provide me the information in only 2 lines, and it should be less than 50 characters or less than 50 words. My bad. And you just bullet it. You create a nice table. or HTML or anything. You can do all of those things. For that, you have to go ahead and create a custom prompt, or you can just add more details here as well. Once you are done, now let's say I don't want I have declared the variables, right? Done, but I want to get the data from somewhere. I also want my prompt to use this data as reference. Here you can add the data. Now, if I click on add data, you can add data was data as of now. So as you can see, you can add data was tables directly into your prompt so that you can add those information as reference or add those in the context as well. Outputs, definitely my output, either it can be in the form of text or JSON. Input as well, whenever I click on input, let me just create add input. You can have your input, you can add sample data. Settings, here lies the beautiful thing. Now, what exactly this is doing behind the scenes? This is using my GPT model. Which model it was using? GPT 3.5. And this is the temperature which is selected. This is the parameter which is selected. You can also select the GPT 4. This is the latest feature which recently got released a month back. Now, not just, you can use GPT 3.5, or you can also select the models based on what is your intention to do with it. You can also data from dataverse table. This is also a new latest feature. Once you are done doing all the configurations, etc., just hit save because this is the custom. Just hit save. Once you are done, close this. Now this will act as your separate custom model. Now how can I integrate that? Pick any of the flow. We'll just create one flow. It's taking some time. Give it a minute. I think there's some issue. Okay. We'll go ahead and create a flow. Maybe the authentication is lost or what. Hmm. Now we can. You just pick a manually instant cloud flow. We'll just pick this up. I just want you to show the connector which you can use whenever you create the models, AI models, which is consuming your prompt. So now I'm just going to create a manual trigger. Hmm. Okay, I don't see that. Lag, definitely. Hmm. Once I've done this, I'm going to add, okay, close this, add an action, and we are going to write GPT AI builder. First, let's just filter by, okay, and we are going to see all of them. Create text with GPT using prompt. So here, you will see all the GPT based models which I've created here. You can just pick summarize. Once you are done, you can directly test it here as well from this section. Here you can pass the input. I want to pass the input, which I'm going to pass it from here. Text. Once I'm done, I'm going to pass the same text, hit save. Okay, this is giving me the warning. And the warning is important because whenever something is AI generated, it is advised to add the approval step whenever you create Power Automate flows so that you can inform the users that, hey, this was provided by AI, and you just make sure before approval that this is AI generated text. Now let's test manually and we'll provide the same thing here in the flow. Just provide the text, run flow, and we'll see whether it is giving the intended output or not. Done. Let's wait. Okay, it has done its work. And if I go and see the outputs, where is the output? Okay. In the output, if you see the text which it generated, let's just pick and open the notepad and see whether it has really summarized or not. So this is the information which we already got while we tested in the prompt section. Here you are getting the same response. So this is how you can go ahead and use already, whenever you want to create the custom prompt with, or you want to ground it with some data from Dataverse, you can go ahead and straight away use it like this. It will also hold all your custom ones as well. So as soon as I click on edit, it was not just showing me the out of the box ones, which are AI summarize classify. It is also showing me the custom prompts which I have created for myself. Another important section is custom connector. Now let's say I have few capabilities like I want to generate image, which is not possible as of now in Power Platform. And I want to do this through my Power Apps. So this is the application which I created. I'm going to close this down. Design your own art. So this is the art gallery wherein I've added all the school children can add their prompts that hey, this prompt helped me generating a good art, and this was added to the art gallery. And now for future reference they can go ahead and hit that again so that they can take the printouts for the generated art which was the inspiration for them. Let me just create an image of a cityscape with tall buildings, etc. There is some text which is added, but here you can only see some of them. I want to generate an image, which is one image of size 256 cross 256. I'm going to hit generate image. And let's just wait for it to generate. You see that there is a beautiful image which got generated, and it is not at all very difficult. It is the basic art which was generated so that even like, because the intention was for school kids, so they can create their own as well. And we did give that in the description that hey, create an image of cityscape with tall and busy streets. Once you are done doing that, you can just take a printout of it, or you can save this image in any blob. You can do a lot of things with it, but this is just a small image gallery. How did I achieve this? That is the question. So now let's go to our environment and see how did we achieve this. I also added some documentation, so I'll go through that before. So this is what we saw in the Azure OpenAI Studio. We know how we can generate it. On click of view code, you will see the endpoint and key, but the endpoint doesn't hold that right information, right? So here, what I've done is I've used two layer, uh, two APIs I've used. One is I am requesting to generate an image. The other is I'm getting the image which was generated. So these are the two things which I'm doing. And because I'm using DALI version 2, that is why I'm going through two steps. DALI version 3 probably can do it in one step as well. I haven't gone through the recent API documentation. So here in the post, what we have to do is definitely for both first time, whenever we are requesting a generated image, we're going to make a post call. And this is how the post call is. This is your endpoint, which we saw. Next is OpenAI slash images slash generations. And what we are trying to generate? We are trying to request a generated image, right? So hence this is of type submit with some API version. This is the first API call. Once we make this call, we'll get an ID. Using that ID, we are going to fetch the image. The other API call is simply that. Give the endpoint slash OpenAI slash operations slash images, and you just provide that ID with the API version, and your image will be generated. I'm going to show you the same thing in the custom connectors as well. So let's just go to the custom connector. So this API endpoint information, you can find it in the Microsoft OpenAI endpoint documentation as well. So I picked that endpoint information from Microsoft Doc. Let's just go and check our custom connector. So whenever you want to create the custom connector for yourself, all you can do is create a new custom connector, create it from blank, or you can create it from the OpenAI file, or if you already have the Swagger or GitHub, you can go ahead and create it from there as well. I've created it from blank. You can create it as you like. If you have the Swagger, then you can just create it from Swagger as well. What I did is I have to pass some information, right? Because we are wrapping that API in the form of connector. We could have easily done this using HTTP trigger as well. But whenever you work in Power Platform, or whenever you want to create the connectors which are HTTP based or REST API endpoints, it is advised to create a custom connector so that it is secured and it is layered. Only then you can go ahead and use it. Don't ever create hit APIs directly from the HTTP trigger with authentication for Power Platform. Always make sure to create custom connectors. In the general information, I'm just providing the information of the connector. What are connectors? Connectors is nothing new. This is a connector, right? We are what Microsoft has done. They are going ahead and using the GPT endpoint behind the scenes, and it is wrapped. This is the connector icon. This is the connector text. So this is the action which we are using with icon and text and all the parameters, output, input, etc. We are going to configure the same thing in the custom connector. This is the icon. This is the icon background color. The description of your connector, how that connector is HTTPS or HTTP. Ideally, we all use HTTPS for the secured security concerns. You go ahead and use that. This information you find it in your endpoint. Whenever you go to the Azure OpenAI, you have created the deployment, right? Until and unless you create a deployment, you won't be able to configure it. Once you are done creating it, we'll go ahead with the security. What kind of security I'm using? We saw that we had endpoint and key, so we'll be using key based authentication. And I can add the key either from my header as well, or you can just I'm adding it in the header. Once you are done configuring the security, you go ahead and create a definition. Now this is the important step where you can create triggers or actions. So I have created two layers, as I mentioned. One is to generate request a generated image, and the other is generating fetching the information, fetching the image. So these two actions which I've created, first action is DALI image generator, which will get and fetch the operation ID. This is the operation ID, the visibility, and this is how the endpoint is, which we just saw in the app. This is the endpoint, and the query parameter is API version. The header also, apart from API key, you also have to pass the content type, and this is the body. If I hit edit, you will see all the parameters you saw in the sample, right? We are passing the number of images, the prompt, the size. All this is configured from the custom connector. If I hit edit, you will see this is number of images. You give option what number of images you want to select from. You give the prompt. This will be purely input from the user. The other is size. You can give the drop downs again. You give it different type. Once you are done configuring this, your endpoint with body, with query parameters, with API key is ready. Now you can go ahead. I'll come to the second one in 1 to few minutes. You can go ahead and directly test it. AI plugins, you don't have to worry about it as of now. We are not integrating it rightly. You can code as well. You can add the custom .NET Pro code, wherein if you want to just add error messages or if you want to elaborate more, you can do that here. Test. As soon as I write here, generate an image of a AI world, an AI ruled world. Let's just go ahead and test this. So this is just the first thing. It is not going to generate an image for me. It is going to generate an ID. And as soon as I go next, okay, let's just pick this ID and we go to the next section and we add the operation ID and test it. It will provide me an image. So here is the image which is stored in the blob storage in the local blob. If I hit enter, it will show me the image. Hmm. Did you see the image? of an AI ruled world, this is how it will look like. Just joking. But yeah, this is how the image got generated. Now you will ask me that, hey, what we did in the second step? What is the second API doing? We'll go to the definitions and we'll hit generate image. In the generate image, you will see that we are using another endpoint with the operation ID. Here I'm not going to pass the body because we are doing the get operation. We are passing the operation ID, the API version, the content type. Once it is done, we are getting the information. Now, how did I layer this information in my Power App? That is interesting. Go to my screens. On the click of generate image, what am I doing is I'm just doing some operations. I'm setting the image URL and I'm creating the Power Automate flow. And this flow is doing those two-step thing for me. Let's just go to the flow and check that out. The flow name. Just give a minute to load. Just take a few minutes, I think. Yeah, it's coming up. Here I'm using those two connectors, which we just saw in the form of custom connector, and then getting the information back, storing that image URL in the variable, and then showing it in the image format. That is what we are doing from here. We'll quickly check. Okay, I think, no, this is not the correct one. My bad. The wrong environment. The platform is loading. Yes. So here, when we are calling the flow, we are also taking the inputs, whatever we feed in the UI, the prompt, the image size, the image number. Once you are done doing that, I'm initializing the variables and calling here I've just used HTTP, which I said you shouldn't. I can go ahead and straight away use add an action. I'll pick it up custom connector, action type, custom. All of my custom connectors will sit here. I'll go and see DALI image. I'll just pick DALI image generator. In this, I'll pass the prompt. Once it is done, it will give me back the operation ID. Once that is done, just a second, the prompt is add an action. We'll just select the custom one. We'll go and image generate. And image generate will take the operation ID. Once you are done configuring this, you store the information which is generated by this connector in the variable and send it back to PowerApps, and this will hold the information in this variable. Once it is done, you see that my this variable is holding my variables is where is it? Okay, image URL. Let me just generate again. And once it has finished loading, we'll see that image URL. It's coming up. You see, this is the exact blob storage. It generated a new image, and this is the value to it. So this is what we are doing it from here. You can do this similar activity using other endpoints as well. You can create the custom connector on top of it. And this is how you integrate your Azure OpenAI with Power Platform. So I just showcased two different versions. One is GPT based, wherein you can chat, summarize, and the other is generating image. As of now, we can do this much with Power Platform, but if you want to generate code with different API models, please go ahead and try it out yourself, and maybe you can do a lot of good things with assistants, other APIs. For that, all you have to make sure is reiterating it again. I'll go back to here. Let's say I want to create a similar app which will help in generating code, just similar to GitHub Copilot, wherein it will be a paired programmer. So if you want to generate something like that, make sure that you have the API, the endpoint, and just wrap that in the form of custom connector and integrate it either in Power App or Web App or whatever suits you the best, whichever way. If you are not the Power Platform developer or you don't are aware about low code, no code, maybe you can create a web application and integrate it there as well. Because you have the API and key, you can do with it. So this is whole in whole our this is what the session was about. I'll just quickly come to the last slide because we talked about it everything. So thank you so much everyone for listening, and your survey, your feedback is very important for us, for me, and for Microsoft. So just feel free to provide your survey, or you can scan in, or you can just go to the URL and you can provide your survey or feedback, whatever you have for the session. I hope this helps. Maybe you can go ahead and start creating your own beautiful scenarios on top of Azure OpenAI, not just image creation or anything, but who knows, you can have the next best example or sample which you uh, work with. Always feel free to share, or if you have any issues, you can reach out. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening so patiently. Thanks, Rashmita, for hosting me.
Thank you so much, Shrushti, for hosting this session, and thank you all for joining us today. Please visit Microsoft Reactor website for more upcoming session. Feel free to use the Learn module link. This will give you access to additional resources to take your learning further. Thank you all once again and enjoy the rest of your day.